Hello and welcome to the World Wanderers podcast, a proud part of the Wander Barn Podcast Network.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Amanda.
And we're your hosts.
We're a traveling couple and digital nomads taking you on our adventures as we explore locations, destinations, and careers.
Enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of the World Wanderers podcast. We are very happy that you're joining us today on the show. And today on the podcast, we are excited to be rejoined by Annette and Daniel Fortner. Annette and Daniel are digital nomads and YouTubers at Chase for Adventure. And we caught up with them a little over a year ago. And at that time, they were living in Thailand and getting ready to have their first baby. Since then, they've had a baby boy named Apollo. They've traveled back and forth between the US and Thailand. And they're joining us today once again from their home in Thailand. And in this episode, Annette and Daniel share what it was like having a baby abroad. They're pretty open and honest and raw about that experience. They share the ups and downs of early parenthood and navigating that in a foreign country during a pandemic, what it was like spending 7 months back in the US, and now why they've decided to move back to Thailand. They also share some of their top tips for traveling with a baby, as well as what's next for them in terms of their YouTube channel and their careers. And just before we get into the episode, I want to just give a little preface that Apollo was up and a little bit active during this episode. So if you hear baby noises in the background, that's just the reality of, having a little one around. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. Hopefully you enjoy this episode. And without further ado, here are Annette and Daniel. Annette, Daniel, welcome to the podcast. We're excited to have you back here with us again.
Thank you. We are so happy to be here, the three of us this time.
Yeah. You guys have an extra little member to the family, which we'll have to get into. But before we do that, where are you joining us from today?
So we have literally just moved to Thailand. We've been here 1 week today, and we just moved into our new house today. So super exciting stuff.
Where in Thailand are you guys living?
So right now we're actually in Ao Nang. I don't know why I said right now. We're living in Ao Nang. I guess I said right now because we thought we were going to be moving to Phuket. That really didn't work out. And then we were like, back to the tried and true.
Yeah. I don't know why we ever tried living anywhere else, to be honest.
Is Ao Nang where you guys were living like when we would have talked probably about a year ago?
Oh, I think about a year ago we were in Koh Chang.
No? Baby, I was pregnant a year ago. He's about to be 1.
Oh, man. Yeah, we were in Ao Nang.
We were here.
Okay, cool. And so I think we talked to you almost exactly a year ago. So beginning of 2021, you were super pregnant, Annette. You guys were expecting Apollo. He wasn't there yet. You were in Thailand. And now things are obviously, you're in Thailand again, but you haven't been there this whole time. Now I'm super pregnant. We're expecting a baby in Mexico. We want to catch up with you just like how things have been over the last year, especially stepping into parenthood. So can you kind of walk us through, what you guys have been up to over the last year?
Of course. So the last time that we talked was last January. Like you said, I was super duper pregnant. I was extremely nervous because I was about to have a baby in Thailand, 8,000 miles away from my family or anybody that I knew. And so anyway, March comes, Apollo comes. My entire journey through labor was very rewarding. Things didn't quite end how I wanted it to. In Thailand, it's very customary to have a C-section. And so the doctors sometimes will kind of tell you whatever to get you to get a C-section. And when you're in labor for the first time, you just don't know, right? You don't know what's going on. You've never done this before. I certainly didn't have like a mom or a doula or a friend or anyone there with me to walk me through that process. So at that point, you just kind of do what the doctor says. Apollo comes. He is healthy and happy. We're living in what we lovingly call the Glass Palace, which was this gorgeous vacation home that we were extremely lucky to be renting for $500 a month. And we lived there for 2 months. And then we lived there for 5 months, but we lived there with Apollo for 2 months. And then we just kind of had the feeling that Apollo was growing super duper fast. Our family hadn't met him. And I knew that I wanted him to be a part of the family, to be around family. And I felt also like it was my child's duty to go back and introduce the grandbaby to my parents and Daniel's parents. So along with that and some health issues that had come up for Daniel's family, we're like, you know what? this is super duper last minute, but our visa expires May 24th. It's May like 18th. What if we just bought tickets and left? And so we did. They let us out of our contract. We came back home. And then we were hoping that we would be there with family for approximately 3 months or so. And then maybe take a trip out to Portugal and just explore and take Apollo traveling again. But unfortunately, the passports were taking forever, like 18 weeks forever in America. And Daniel's passport had run out of pages. And so we had sent his out thinking, okay, how long is that going to take? 6 weeks. We had tickets booked for September 8th to Lisbon.
And we had allotted like 10 weeks just in case like things got messed up or there was anything wrong with the process or got delayed. We were like, you know what? Almost double the time that they tell you to wait. It'll be fine. And then as soon as we submitted my passport and let it go, they came out like a week later and we're like, oh my God, the US passport system's so overrun and it's overbooked. And now you can be expecting your passport in 18 weeks. And we were just like, oh my God. So we were literally actually stuck in America for a little while there without literally the ability to leave the country.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like 18 weeks is so long to get a passport.
Yeah, right. We were, I've literally never heard of a situation where this happened. And the funny thing was, it was like 18 weeks. It took 18 weeks to get back to us. And then all of the passport issues went away. Like everyone stopped having like this extended deadline for it. Everyone started getting their passport in like 4 or 6 weeks. It was the weirdest thing.
Just like bad timing.
That's the worst when it happens when you like go to like a restaurant or something and there's a really long line when you get there and then no one joins it behind you.
Oh
Yes.
my God, right? Yeah, that is exactly what happened with the passport. That was a perfect analogy.
Yeah. But with all of that apparent and perceptive misfortune, I almost feel like maybe we weren't meant to go to Portugal. Mm-hmm. We were looking at potentially being there for 3 months or so. And then Omicron happened. So Europe, I don't know if you guys have been seeing the news, has been locking down. So there really isn't a heck of a lot to do there. And then we also learned in August that what we've been doing for a job, which was VIP Kid, became illegal in China. So now, we immediately find out that we're also losing our jobs, at least like the teaching English ones. And we would have to lean more on freelancing. And so it just kind of felt like, you know what, maybe Portugal wasn't the next right step. And we ended up staying with our families for 7 months, which, as you guys can imagine, is so fun and so beautiful because we get to share these memories. They get to watch Apollo grow. He learned how to crawl and stand and babble and try all of his first foods. And our families were able to be there for that. But also we're a married couple with a small baby. And so I think also our parents are just trying to do their part and impart their wisdom. Just when you're almost 30 and have your own child, like you want, a little bit more autonomy and independence.
or not butt heads over that autonomy and independence.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We just spent like 2 months at home in Canada over the summer. And I feel like we were like, okay, this has been like really, really lovely. We're super grateful for our families for like hosting us, having us, and we're ready for our own space again.
Yeah. Yeah, we felt it.
So you guys are living in Mexico now, right?
Yeah, we're back in Mexico. So we were in Mexico when we talked with you guys last, and we've been, other than like maybe, I guess like 6 weeks in the States and 8 weeks in Canada, we've been here.
Oh, wow. I love that. I think it's so funny because over the years, this is our third catch up essentially on your podcast. So this is almost 3 years of life that's transpired. And I feel like after each year, we get closer to living permanently in Thailand and you guys get closer to living permanently in Mexico. Have you guys noticed that?
Yeah. I was thinking about that, especially because I knew you guys were in the States and then you're like, oh, we're like moving back to Thailand. And I was like, oh, that's so funny that you're going to be in Thailand again for this call.
Yes. And now you guys have residency in Mexico too.
Yeah. We got that in February. So, and the baby's going to be Mexican. So yeah, becoming more and more Mexican.
I love that. Do they get Mexican citizenship or does she get any sort of benefit for being born in Mexico?
Yeah, anyone born in Mexico becomes a Mexican citizen.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, so she'll be Mexican and Canadian citizenship right away.
Yeah, it seems like in Asia, there's really in Asia, like there's hardly any countries that do like birthright citizenship.
I think honestly, there's just so much medical tourism here that I think if they were to give every child that was like flown abroad to be born and then flown back, I think they'd have a lot of foreign nationals.
So I wonder if part of it is also economic,
like protecting the economy, like reserving Thailand for the Thais,
right?
Which I respect.
Yeah, there's not that many countries that give like, birth on or citizenship on birth these days. I mean, Canada, US, Mexico does it. And then there's like a couple others, but for the majority of places, you don't get it. But yeah, baby girl will be lucky because she'll get Mexican citizenship. She'll have her Mexican passport before her Canadian one.
Wow. Oh, guys, isn't that so meant to be? Because you guys basically are trying to get that, no?
Yeah, we're slowly like integrating here, but yeah, we'll see. It'll be a little bit tougher for us to get Mexican passports, but the residency is great for now.
Yeah. Hablan español or still no? Do you guys speak Spanish yet?
Yeah, no, both of us are definitely conversationally fluent. Still encounter some like specific situations where we don't know exactly what's going on, but can definitely like process everything. So.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Did you guys like go to a school for that or just on the street?
We've done like some phases in school because it's been like since we traveled South America in 2014 and kind of started slowly learning. But yeah, we did when we lived in Panama, we'd go to Spanish school every week, twice a week. And then we both have like teachers that we use on italki and usually have like at least one lesson a week, focusing mostly on conversation. And then I think the biggest thing for us is just switching all of like our content consumption to Spanish stuff. So we try to watch like more Spanish movies, Spanish TV shows on Netflix, listen to mostly Spanish music. And that's been like the biggest thing. So yeah, it's kind of like piece by piece. It's one of those things where you see stuff when you start and it's like, oh, you can learn a language in like 3 months. And then 6 years later, you're like, okay, I feel like I'm getting the hang of it. How about you guys for Thai? Have you guys tried learning any Thai, made any progress? I know when we went to Thailand the first time, I was like, I'm going to learn some Thai. And then that lasted one lesson and I was like, this is impossible.
สวัสดีครับเรียนภาษาไทยพูดนิดหน่อย
Yeah.
We speak a little.
Yeah. I want to say like you guys will probably definitely speak more Spanish than I speak Thai.
Yeah.
But I can definitely order you food. I can sort of give you directions so long as you don't take any left turns. And I can say some things. I can hold a very basic conversation.
In all fairness, I think we're actually about to start taking lessons because it's about time we finish learning the language.
Yeah. Now reading it, that's a whole other ballgame. I don't know if I'm emotionally prepared to embark on a reading Thai journey. The squiggles are hard.
Yeah, I was going to say having a whole different alphabet definitely makes it like a whole different ballgame, I think.
Yeah. And they have like something like 49 characters and 5 intonations and more squiggles that go on top, on the bottom, and to the right of letters to change them. I don't know. It's a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And so, okay, getting back to you guys' kind of journey. So Portugal didn't happen. You guys end up staying in the States a little bit longer than you planned. Was Thailand kind of like always the plan? Like, were you guys like, hey, like we definitely want to go back to Thailand. We want to move there. Or was it like, did you have other plans, when you were originally going to go to Portugal?
So that's kind of, I don't know. When we went back to America and my parents were asking us like what the long-term plan was, I had written in my calendar that we would be back in Thailand in January. And that was kind of a move for us to take a break. Thailand to us in a lot of ways feels like home. And it's a good place to work. It's a good place to travel, to vacation, to be with our friends. But I was a little bit more reluctant when it came to coming back to Thailand because in a lot of ways, I felt like it was me accepting that travel wasn't going to be a reality for a period of time, partly because of COVID. It's made traveling to other countries really difficult. And if not really difficult, extremely expensive just in PCR tests alone. But also, I had a whole journey of self-discovery while I was in America where I really tried, assessing what it is that I want out of life. I feel like while I was pregnant, I kept telling myself that I was not going to change, that I was still going to want to be this full-time traveler, and that I was going to make sure that I still traveled full-time with the baby and all of this stuff. And as I started seeing Apollo grow, and the more I fell in love with watching this little boy become a little man, the less anything else mattered to me. So I think somewhere along the lines of like November or December, I kind of told Daniel, like, I don't care where we go. I just want to have a home. I want my focus to be watching Apollo grow and being his mom and, getting our other businesses off the ground. I started even assessing whether YouTube was something that I wanted to continue. It's actually still an ongoing conversation because as I see him and the more special he becomes to me, the more I kind of want to keep that to myself. And so, that probably got way more serious than you were expecting, but that's kind of where I've been at.
No, yeah, I appreciate you like being, honest and stuff like that. Cause I think that obviously, I think it's really different when you're maybe if you like own a house and you like live in a city and you've got a job there and that that's just where you're going to live. And I think that this is something, we kind of talked about like when we found out that I was pregnant, it's kind of like, okay, like where do we want to have this baby? Cause like, we didn't really have a permanent home in Mexico and we don't have a permanent home in Canada. So it's going to be the same sort of setup regardless of where we decide. And I feel like there is kind of like a bit of a journey with, figuring all of that out. And then you add like what's happening in the world on top of that. And like you said, it's not just as simple as like, hey, we'll just go to Switzerland or we'll just go to, Nicaragua. Like it's just not that easy right now. And I would imagine that, having like a small infant as well, like adds a whole other layer of things onto that. And so obviously you guys have taken us through kind of like the last year really quickly. I want to back up a little bit and go back to like having a baby in another country. And obviously you guys were, the pandemic was at a different stage and stuff like that. Like, how are you guys feeling like, getting ready to like have a child in another country, in a country where like you don't necessarily speak the language, your family's not there, you're on the other side of the world. Like, how was all of that for you guys?
Do you want the honest answer that encourages you to have a baby in Mexico, or do you want my reality of giving birth in Thailand?
I feel like the honest answer, the reality. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I want to preface that I think that Thailand is very different from Mexico. You guys probably speak way more Spanish than I spoke Thai. And I think I know nothing about the culture around birth in Mexico, but I reckon that it's probably better than the male-centric doctor knows best. C-sections are 98% of the reality. And Farongs are like foreigners, which is Farong is like the derogatory term that they refer to us here, that we're just dollar signs. So they try and squeeze it out of you by forcing you into a C-section because they could charge you double. I was terrified. I really wanted to have a natural birth. I didn't want medical intervention. I almost at times contemplated not going to a hospital at all and just like giving birth in my shower. Because I was so mistrusting of the birth situation here in Thailand. Also during that time in COVID, we were fully pandemic free in Thailand for 9 months at the beginning of the pandemic. While the world was melting down, we were watching with popcorn from our couch in a country that had no COVID. I mean, that might sound a little insensitive, but it was the reality of our situation. It didn't hit us. But right before I gave birth, the first cases of COVID made it to the country. So then suddenly, we go from careless to Bangkok shut down. I was going to go to a really nice hospital there that supported natural labor. that became a non-option because we couldn't even fly there at the time. Like they kept canceling the flights. So then we lived in Ao Nang, which is a beautiful beach village with gorgeous cliffsides and monkeys, but it's not exactly known for its medical care. So then we're like, okay, well then we'll go to Phuket, which is 4 hours away. But then the reality of, what if I'm in labor and this baby's coming and I'm having to drive 4 hours to some island during these restrictions? So then it became evident that I was going to have to give birth in the village in a hospital that I had been getting my prenatal care at, but in a hospital where I didn't speak the language. I would have to take my friend to translate. And then she had to move right before the labor. So it was stressful to say the least. And then on top of that, my doctor didn't show up to my birth. I ended up having to give birth with somebody else. And then they don't really see a lot of women giving birth. And so, I'm not going to take you through the horror story of, especially since you're about to go into labor, definitely watch that video on YouTube after you've had your beautiful natural labor with a healthy baby girl. But to be honest, I was traumatized for the first 10 weeks. And it didn't help that, I had a C-section. The recovery for that was way longer than I expected. And because it was something that was a surprise to me that I had not researched, I was not prepared for. I didn't take care of myself postpartum. I had this little baby that I'm going to be honest. I think I told you guys this last January, like I was not happy to find out that I was pregnant. I was very scared. I wasn't ready. It was a surprise. I was afraid that I wasn't going to love this little worm. He comes out, at least for me, and this is not speaking for anybody else's experience. I didn't not like him right away, but I didn't love him. Like I didn't have that beside myself love. It could have been all the morphine after my surgery, but I just didn't feel that spark didn't happen for me. It didn't happen until like a week or two after. And so I'm fluctuating with like feelings of resentment over my birth story. Did I make the wrong decision of having a baby in Thailand? I'm still injured. I can't even enjoy my newborn because I can't walk around. I had no help outside of obviously Daniel, who was amazing, but there's only so much that he can do. He's trying to deal with this new role himself of being a father for the first time, having a wife that is miserable, is hormonal, is injured, from the wound of the surgery. And then having to take care of a house on top of that. So if we're being really honest, it was difficult. We ended up having to hire a maidbon, which is essentially a nanny, somebody who could, at least take care of the house and make sure that we were fed because I wasn't even eating. So that then we could focus on being parents. So, it was hard. It did turn around. But I did have, in all honesty, a time when I was not okay.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. And I think that I think it's important to keep it real for people out there. Cause I think there's obviously, what we see kind of, through social media or, through just this one-sided lens of what things look like. And it's you live in Thailand. It's so beautiful. The sunsets are amazing. The beaches are beautiful. You've got this beautiful, healthy baby, but it's what's actually going on. And it's hard to share that stuff when you've got, you guys have quite a big following. And I know you have shared quite a bit on social and through YouTube and stuff like that, but it's hard to be kind of feel like you're being in a bit of a downer about these things, but it's that's what real life can be like sometimes.
And I think you nailed it on the head. I was very worried about being a downer, but I also want to make sure that I keep my authenticity with my audience, because the fact is when you do get a certain level of a following, people are making decisions based off the things that you say. And so I would feel absolutely horrible if people thought that I had this glamorous birth experience in Thailand, which, don't get me wrong, people come here and they go to the bougiest hospital and they get the birth that they want. I'm not saying that this happens at every hospital. But I would hate for somebody to come over here completely unprepared, thinking that they can just jump into the first village hospital they find, pop out a baby and get everything that they want, So I definitely value when other people keep it real on social media. So I try to do the same.
Yeah. And then, that sounds like just the situation where it's one thing's happening after another. We're not being able to go to Bangkok, not being able to go to Phuket. as you guys were going through that, were you kind of dealing with any feelings of like, we should have gone back to the States, like, feeling like not great about even being in Thailand?
No, because comparatively speaking, Thailand's cases were still a lot lower. In the States, I think Florida was the epicenter right around when I was about to give birth.
No, and I was just going to add, and we had known some people that were giving birth in Florida, and then like they would show up to the hospital and the husband wouldn't be allowed to be at all involved in the process. We had some family members actually give birth soon after Annette had done so, and her husband was not able to be involved in the process up until the delivery. Annette, was it?
Like 6 hours.
6 hours into the delivery. That was the only time he was allowed. And that was the first time he stepped foot into the actual doctor's office, because she went to all prenatals by herself. She went to all imaging, ultrasounds, all of that was done without the husband being there. And obviously like after the fact, hindsight's always 2020. But before Annette experienced what she had with birth, we were like, why would we do that? And so, so we really did, up until the birth itself, have like the greatest experience here with prenatal care and with getting Annette seen. And then even after the birth, the post care that Annette received in the hospital was incredible.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. And I feel like I'm hearing, as COVID's kind of happening again with this new variant in early 2022, I feel like I'm seeing some of this stuff kind of pop up around the world. I just saw a friend who's going to give birth in Australia who's, dealing with something very similar to that. And it's just, I have like opinions about that, which we can keep off the podcast, but it's just, I just feel like it's like, as you're preparing for a baby, especially as like a new parent, there's a lot that's going through your head. There's a lot that's going on. And I feel like the last thing you want to worry about is like whether or not your partner is going to be allowed to be there while you're giving birth.
Preach.
Which also, if I can add, Daniel being there was so important to me, especially because of the situation that we were in a foreign country. But regardless, I would have been so upset. And my heart goes out to all of the women who have had to give birth without their partners there, because like, this is literally a life that you guys created jointly, and a pregnancy that you guys have enjoyed together, from the first kicks where, you're grabbing his hand and telling him, oh my God, feel right here. Do you feel it? And he's like, no, I don't feel it. It's like, but it's happening. I promise, to, oh my God, did you see that kick go through my shirt? Like my ribs are about to break here, kid. To then not being able to be there as your baby comes, I don't know. My heart really goes out to the people who've had to deal with that. And so at the end of the day, I don't regret the way that it transpired. I don't think that I would have had the pre-birth or the post-birth experience that I would have wanted had we gone home. Like literally the only thing that would have been different is my labor, which we've already discussed, like wasn't great. But at the same time, like that was 24 hours. And I would have had to make a determination over 3 months of both Daniel, mine, and the baby's life. And we had a lot of autonomy and independence and had the freedom to learn what parenting meant to us and what kind of parents we wanted to be to Apollo without anybody else's input. And that to me was extremely important.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And I wanted to ask kind of, this little baby arrives and you guys are like these full-time travelers, digital nomads, like, what's life been like adding a third little musketeer to your clan?
Honestly, easier than I expected. He's an amazing traveler. His first flight he was a month old. We had to go to Bangkok for his passport. He slept the whole way through. We did the journey from Thailand to America. He was sleeping, happy, playing. We did the journey back 7 months later, and he was still happy. He's been on a plane, I think 12 times, and he is 10 months old. So he's doing great. And he doesn't require nearly as much stuff as I expected. I think that you can have a baby and take as much as, you think is useful to you. Like what they really need is diapers and not even wipes. Like sometimes people just use the sink. People don't even own wipes here in Thailand. And so obviously we travel with a little bit more. We have some soft books now, especially as he's getting older and he needs more to entertain him. I'm curious to see how it becomes more or less challenging as he gets bigger, because now he's trying to walk around. So this entire last flight, we were walking up and down that plane 11,000 times. And he's also trying to flirt with everybody on the plane, or trying to talk to like the mean person that's sitting next to us who doesn't want a baby next to them at all. But honestly, I can't complain about him. He's happy as a clam. It's just, I think, a little bit more stressful on us as parents.
I was just going to say, even then, not as big of an adjustment as I thought it would have been.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I wanted to ask, because we kind of got up to the point of, okay, figuring out like, Annette, you were feeling like, I just want to be kind of settled down somewhere. Like, I don't care where in the world it is. How did you guys kind of, what did that kind of decision-making process look like? And how did you decide, okay, let's go back to Thailand. Let's go back to Oneg.
I really think it was just Daniel acting like a 5-year-old in Annette's ear, being like, I want to go back to Thailand. I want to go back to Thailand. Because really Annette was like, she told me her requirements were like, I want a home. I want to be able to like have normal things that I know where they are, and not be living out of a hotel. And I was like, sweet, can we do that in Thailand? And she, like she said earlier, she was pretty hesitant when coming back. But I think I may have swayed her now.
Yeah, he did. I'm not upset to be here, to be honest. We moved into a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, really cozy home that's close to everything. And we're paying $250 US a month for it. Which that's how much it cost, like a storage unit in America costs. So I literally can't complain. And this gives us, I think, the freedom to have what I want, which is a home base, but also the financial liberty to, use the money that we're saving on rent to travel or to save, or, any number of things. I think it really creates space in our lives in a good way.
Yeah. I mean, Mexico is pretty affordable compared to like Canada, US, but it's not that cheap. pretty good numbers.
Yeah, no, the numbers are great. And with that, with being here, I've actually been able to like get into Muay Thai, and we've been figuring out whether we're going to buy a motorbike or a car. It's definitely freed up quite a bit of capital for us.
Right.
Yeah, that's great. And what are you guys doing about visa situations there?
That is a great question. So there's always options. To put in perspective, when we had their like initial lockdown, they pretty much were like, hey, if your visa expires, we're going to deport you. But at the same time, there were like tons of rumors online about like there being amnesty granted. And so we were like, well, let's see what happens. And so we really waited to the last minute. I ended up overstaying a visa by like 2 days. And then they were like, oh, sorry, we were supposed to make this announcement 4 days ago, but everyone gets amnesty. And so in Thailand, the visa situation is very fluid. We're really waiting to see if they grant amnesty again because of the Omicron variant. It seems that they're really stopping international tourism or making it quite difficult to come in. So if we get under amnesty, we'll do that. If not, they've actually allowed it to over the pandemic to where you can transition to what's called an education visa. You're required to like pay for a school, whether it be Muay Thai or it be the Thai language school. And you like pay for a year up front, but they give you a year education visa and you just check in with immigration every like 90 days. So there's options, which is fantastic. And we can just transfer whatever we want to it. But right now, I think we're just kind of sitting and waiting, seeing what's happening.
But to be clear, and may the podcast record show, we are staying here right now, very legally. We're currently on a tourist visa. They give you 30 days on arrival, and that can be extended for another 30 days. So not that we're overstaying visas or staying here illegally while we wait for the country. We're just waiting to see what happens while we're on a tourist visa before transitioning to something more long-term and also more expensive.
Yeah. And now that Annette clarified that, I can see where that sounded not so great. That was definitely a like beginning of COVID. No one knows what COVID is. Everyone's terrified and hunkered down in the jungle kind of situation. But yeah, definitely staying here legally.
Yeah. We don't approve any illegal activities on the World Wonders.
Neither do we. We fully agree with you there.
Yeah. Make sure you're legal.
Yeah, no. And the one time that we did overstay the visa, that was literally when the country had shut down at the very beginning of the pandemic. And it was literally by 2 days, but everybody had been sitting tight because there were no flights leaving the country. So it was this awkward, we're not currently on a visa, but they're not penalizing anyone because people literally can't leave. And then they obviously gave amnesty after to everybody who had overextended and gave us a visa for a long time. So
never overstay a visa unless you're in the beginning of a pandemic and a country locks down and they literally don't let you leave.
Oh my gosh.
Official legal information from Daniel Fortner. I'm just kidding.
Oh my God.
And so is the kind of like the plan or the hope kind of just for the medium term future to just be based in Thailand?
I don't know if we've talked about it that far. We know we're more than likely going to be here for at least one whole year. After that, I don't know what it's going to look like. I'll be very honest with what my goals are. We just actually did our New Year's resolutions. I really want to be able to save money to buy property in America. The market over there is quite inflated right now. So we're hoping that we're able to save a bunch of capital here and then invest in real estate at home. We don't know if that's because, we want to live in a home. I think I want to use it more as like a rental property, and just create passive income and generational wealth for Apollo. And as we get older, but to be honest, I don't know how long that's going to take, how the market's going to look in a year or two, how our finances are going to look in a year or two, one can hope. But yeah, in the meantime, probably sitting tight in Thailand for the next year. There's some self-discovery that I kind of want to do too. I feel like I've been on keep this little human alive mode and keep our relationship and families happy and functional mode for a long time, that I'm kind of interested to see who I am and what I want now, because I don't feel like I'm the same person at all from the last time that we spoke.
Yeah. I mean, you've gone through like a really big life transition, and then obviously there's a lot of other stuff going on. So I feel like that definitely makes sense. And I think we also understand is like people who have really similar lifestyles to you, like kind of putting out there like, hey, I think we're going to live here for a year kind of feels like a big commitment. Like I know for a lot of people that's sort of just maybe like, oh yeah, we signed another year lease or we just like live here permanently. But I think when you're used to traveling full time, kind of committing to one spot for a year it can feel like a little bit scary.
Honestly, it's been a little stressful. It's put so much pressure into finding a home because usually, and I mean, you guys can relate, you're only staying in a place like 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, or you're probably extending month to month. But now to like find a house for a whole year, that means like, investing in furniture for it, maybe, buying seasoning packets from like the Costco, not from the Tesco Lotus that has the tiny little seasoning jars. I don't know. Like there's a lot of more seriousness when you're staying in a place a long time.
I'm terrified of committing to too much seasoning.
I get it though. You only have so much space though. You don't want to like be moving like the big jars. This is kind of related. Like we had signed a year lease in Panama, like right before the pandemic hit. And so we had like the equivalent of a Costco membership there. It's called Price Smart, but it's like they have Kirkland products and it basically looks the exact same as Costco. And so we're like, we're going to be here for a year. So we buy like the 1 liter container of Frank's Red hot sauce. Like this is like a lot of hot sauce that we have. And then obviously pandemic happens. We like leave Panama. We had like made the apartment so that if our landlord did have to go in there, like everything would be totally fine. But like we left in a pretty big hurry. And then we ended up breaking the lease like a month or 2 later because we're like, we clearly can't go back, like the world is weird. And we had this like whole like liter of hot sauce that we'd purchased.
So you see, she gets it. She gets it.
And now it's funny because we have a Costco membership in Mexico and Ryan's like, should we do it? Should we get the liter of Frank's? And I'm like, no, I feel like it's a bad omen.
Oh no. No more pandemics, Amanda. No more pandemics. Don't worry.
Bring that home with your hot sauce.
Yeah. And like, we'll just do like the regular size franks, even if we pay more, because we go through it so quick. It's fine.
I love that that's your like pandemic survival kit was the hot sauce.
Well, we bought it like way before the pandemic. So
gotcha.
The thoughts that we were going to be like in Panama for like a year, like we'd have like, a year to eat our hot sauce. Our pandemic survival kit was much more like, hand sanitizer, toilet paper, that type of stuff.
Okay, which was so bananas to us because we're watching, NBC News, which is what we could get here on YouTube in English. And we're watching people going after toilet paper. And I'm like, I do not have that. Like, Thai people are not worried about toilet paper. There were no eggs. There were no eggs. You couldn't go to a single store and find a single egg. But toilet paper? Ooh, oodles and boodles.
I think it's because like they use the bum gun there, right? So like not everyone uses toilet paper.
Bum guns?
Like,
what?
No.
Yeah,
no
bum
bum guns in my home. Yeah, I actually hate the bum gun. I have never gotten accustomed to it. I just don't like having a soggy bottom. Like I feel like I need to go into the bathroom with a towel after I've used a bum gun or like, do you guys just walk around with swampy butt for the whole day?
We don't really use the bum gun either. So it's
okay.
We're not the experts here, but if anyone wants to like reach out, let us know your opinions on how you use the bum gun.
Please, no video tutorials.
No video tutorials. Keep those for your OnlyFans page.
Yeah, for sure. And so one thing you guys mentioned that I would be curious to touch on was the whole VIP kid thing, which has obviously hit a lot of digital nomads like pretty hard. Is pretty sudden when they announced like, hey, there's basically going to be no VIP kid. And I would imagine having that like a good portion of your income is a little bit of like a shocking thing, especially when you're, home in the US. Obviously, it's more expensive there. Can you guys kind of talk us through like that aspect of things? Because on top of, integrating a baby into life and then like traveling halfway across the world so that you can introduce them to your family, it's like, oh, now our jobs are changing.
Yeah, it was quite terrifying. Annette, we were making what, like $5,000 a month sometimes. We're like with both of us working. VIP Kid was bringing in a lot of money, and then we were like, I got to give a little backstory to it. We made the decision like, oh, let's enjoy like a longer paternity and maternity leave. So let's like make sure that we're like not working, we're not behind a computer. We're able to like learn how we are with the baby, learn the baby and what that means for our relationship and all of this. And so we're trying to give ourselves the time. And so we made the decision to go back to the States, and we obviously like the flights are expensive. We had just depleted a lot of our resources on this paternity leave. And we were like, you know what, after we get back with our families, we spend like a month or so with each one, then we'll hit the ground running again, teaching. And then we can go back to obviously making like a lot of money a month, and keep our like digital nomad lifestyle alive. Well, literally not a week into getting back, China came out with the mention of it being illegal. And overnight we went from having like an almost guaranteed amount coming in each month to, is this even going to last the next week? And it was terrifying. It really kind of threw us for quite a spin. I know I kind of had, I don't want to say like an how do you say it? Existential crisis. Jeez, the tongue twister. Existential crisis. But I kind of went into a mini tailspin there because I was like, how are we going to make money? We've done freelancing like in the past, but like we had never really like put our eggs in that basket because A, we didn't have to. But B, it was literally like, as horrible as this sounds, I want to preface it with Annette and I love teaching. So it's not as like cut and dry as what I'm about to say, but it was like turning on the money faucet. Like VIP Kid, you decided when you wanted to turn it on and you decided when you wanted to cut it off. And so for it to be cut off all of a sudden and us not have any other real backups, because my other backup was another teaching platform that had also just become illegal. And so they cut the hours. At first, they were saying rules like you can't do weekends, you can't do holidays. And so then they said that at the beginning of a holiday. So then you couldn't work for the next like 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden they were like, oh, everyone came back from the holiday. Now you can't work in the mornings or on the weekends. And so then they limited you to 20 hours a week. And then they came back and they were like, oh, well, you actually can't work afternoons. You can only work evenings. And so then it went from like 40 hours to 20 hours to then like 14 hours. And yeah, we like, we had I don't want to say a hard time adjusting, but it was definitely a scare of adjusting because we like at least I taught the portions that I was able to. And then we really just hunkered down on freelancing. And thank goodness that's been taking off. But yeah, no, when they came out with the announcements and everything, it really threw us for a curveball there.
Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, something that Daniel did not touch on, not just like the money faucet, but that job was so easy. Like we love freelancing. Freelancing is great. It's really lucrative, but it takes, effort. You have to find your clients. You have to pitch projects. You have to take rejection. Then you get the interview. You have to prove that you're worth the money. Then, some clients don't want to pay you. And then you're having to hustle. Like VIP Kid, you turned on. It's the same slide that you've taught 83 times. You may even have it memorized. It was just so easy for the amount of money that you were making. That I think that was also what was so hard was like, now we have to sit here and take rejection, deal with crappy clients sometimes, to earn an extra $200.
And I loved my students. Like I miss Charmaine and Panda and and David, who his name definitely wasn't David, but that's what he wanted to go by. Like there was kids like you get attached to and you learn about them and their families. And it was just so sad to be like, well, Charmaine, like, I best of luck. You're a 6-year-old that I'm never going to see again. And I've just spent the last year and a half teaching you. Like, yeah, it was sad on all fronts.
Yeah, we have some good friends who spent like years and years, and some of them like they had regulars over the course of multiple years. And then it's just like, I think they mentioned like a couple of them, they didn't even have a chance, like, because I don't know, if went away for holidays and then like, boom, over, never a chance to even like say goodbye.
No, Rachel Story, you guys have several episodes of her. She was on Teaching English, no?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we actually just recorded with her like an update episode on like, if you're interested in teaching English abroad, like what should you do now? Because for her, like she'd been teaching and VIP Kid was a big part of it. And she'd also kind of built a business around helping people get onto VIP Kid, how to go through the application process. And so for her, it was like a big, big disruption, not only to like her primary work, but also her secondary business that she built around it.
Right. Wow. Well, hopefully this pivot is working well for her. I'm going to be excited to listen to that episode and see how she's doing.
Yeah, I feel like for her and seems like for a number of people, it's been like there still are so many opportunities in English teaching, but you just kind of have to be a bit more entrepreneurial. VIP Kid was kind of the easiest way to get started, but like over the long term, maybe not the best way to like maximize your income. So it seems like she's found some other good sources. But I wanted to ask for you guys, when it came to, diving into freelancing, like how did you decide? Like I don't, maybe you'd been doing some of that beforehand, but like how do you decide like what type of projects do you focus on? How do you get clients? Like how did you go about that?
To be honest, I think I just so Daniel and I are both freelancing and doing different things. I think that we just kind of went into the things that we are experts in. Daniel has been editing all of our YouTube videos for years. And so he not only has gotten extremely good at editing videos and quick at editing videos, but it's something that now he's passionate about. He loves the storytelling process. He loves bringing people's ideas to life. And he gets so excited when a project comes out perfect, and he's like, Annette, look at this. Mom, Dad, look at this. So that's obviously naturally what he went for. And I have been managing Instagram forever, for 4 straight years. And we were able to grow a sizable following on that organically. And so I've been doing social media marketing for people. So not like in an agency way, but like, for example, if somebody has an Instagram, a LinkedIn, a Pinterest, and a Facebook account that they're trying to grow. For some of my clients, I do consulting and I just give them the information on, this is what you should be doing, just like best practices on social media. And for other clients, I've done full management of those pages. So like graphic creation, copy, the copywriting for it, finding the hashtags, engaging with the accounts, etc. So it was just, I think, doing more of what we've always been doing for Chase for Adventure, but doing it for other people too.
Yeah, that's really awesome to hear. And kind of on that note, you guys have had some like pretty major YouTube growth, which is amazing. So want to celebrate that. And I'd love to hear how, the YouTube channel has been going.
Thank you. Yeah. So just after Apollo was born, just before Apollo was born, we hit 100,000 subscribers, which was crazy. We have our play button. It's actually, I just pulled it out today because we're going to hang it up in our new house. And that was great. Yeah. YouTube's been growing. I think we're now at like 129,000 subscribers. I think it's crazy how YouTube works. I feel like you grow super duper fast in some eras, and then you go super duper slow on some other eras. As the algorithm changes, as people's interests change, as different Omicron, Delta, Alpha variants of coronavirus change. So it's been really exciting to see that grow. It's just been a conversation as of recent of what that future is going to look like for us, especially since we built a channel on travel. And we're trying to see what role travel is going to have in our lives. Because right now we've committed to coming to Thailand for a year. And if we were to leave Thailand at this point, we can't get back into Thailand, at least not easily or affordably. So we're going to sit tight here, but we also can't just create a whole bunch of content in Thailand because then it voids our visa. Because if you create more than 50% of your content in Thailand, you have a Thai channel, which is a Thai job, which you need a work permit for. It's a whole thing. So we're trying to figure out, what that future looks like for us. If we were to do lifestyle, what's that going to look like? How much we want Apollo to be involved in that process, because I don't want it to just, be just a channel about my child, more power to the people who are okay with that. We have no judgments. And I love like channels like the Bucket List Family and all of the family channels. We watch them. It's just, I don't know if that's the right thing for me. I think a lot of people derive a lot of love and energy when they create their videos. And surely that's how we felt every time that we share travel content. But admittedly, anytime that I'm sharing something about Apollo or like my journey as a mother, I feel drained, kind of like how an introvert feels at a party. That's how I feel when I am sharing like intimate, fun, exciting things that Apollo does. So it's just kind of figuring out what that's going to look like for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that definitely makes sense. I mean, that's certainly like, I think we can understand as like travel content creators as well. Like when the pandemic first hit, we were like, we, dropped the podcast down to every other week, which we've continued to do basically since like the spring or summer of 2020, because we're like, we're not doing anything. I mean, at that point, like Canada was in lockdown, like we couldn't even go to restaurants. Like it's not like we can even talk about like, something fun in our like hometown, because we're literally like leaving the house once a day to like go on a walk. And, obviously things are a lot different now, and we've been able to travel, the US and Mexico a little bit, but I feel like it's just not in the same capacity, which makes it a little bit harder to, create content when you're like, I'm kind of not really traveling that much.
Right. And then, especially if you've created content that's travel based for so long, the story comes, you go to a restaurant, the story's there. You go to Panama, it's easy. You just chronicle your day because everything's cool and exciting. It's just hard. Like I can share my first trip to Costco, but by the second trip to Costco, I'm like, okay, my followers have seen Costco. Like I don't need them to know that I buy like Pantene soap when it's on sale, I just felt like it's just so much harder to source the content and also to get excited about it. Cause that's also like, I think why we do it, it's out of love. It's out of passion for travel and sharing cultures and experiences and food and stories. And like the story doesn't change when life looks like one big Groundhog Day of coronavirus,
Yeah, for sure. That definitely makes sense. Well, I mean, congratulations on getting to 129,000 followers. Like that's actually amazing. That's so many people that are following your channel, which is so cool. And I know you guys will figure out like whatever is, kind of just like the best thing for you to move forward with, and whatever that journey is, I'm sure will be will be great in its own way. And I think the last thing that I would love to just hear from you guys, since we're going to be embarking on this journey of parenthood soon, and living abroad, and hopefully traveling with the baby at some point in the future, is like, what tips do you have for us as new parents? What things do we need? What things do we not need? Any words of wisdom would be amazing.
This journey looks different for everyone. I think that the less that you go on the internet and doubt your ability as a parent, the better. And give yourself grace. The reality is these little amazing creatures do not come out with a manual. They're all different. That's great that so-and-so's baby sleeping through the night. Yours might not, and that's fine. You're not doing anything wrong. And I think it's just remembering that, this is going to be a journey where you learn, you make mistakes, and you enjoy. So just be happy, give yourself grace. If you have a bad day, have a bad day. If you need to nap, take a nap. And sometimes it's okay to put the baby down if it doesn't stop crying, and go outside and take a minute for yourself.
Yeah, those are definitely good tips. And we've been trying to keep things like pretty minimal in terms of what we've been buying, just get like what she needs. Do you guys have any like things that were really helpful for you guys to have, especially having like a newborn?
So to ask a personal question, are you planning on breastfeeding or formula feed?
The plan is breastfeeding.
Okay. So then don't buy anything. You have all of the food that the baby needs, and diapers and wipes. Literally, that's all Apollo, used. We had some onesies for him and they fit him huge. He was so delicate and flimsy when he first came out that I didn't feel comfortable putting him in any outfits. Like, I wasn't trying to make him cute. I was just trying to make sure that he was alive. So the reality is, like, don't buy anything, because you could always order on Amazon or go to Costco and send Ryan on a goose hunt, for something. I feel like a lot of people feel like, I need a changing table and I need 83 bottles and the sterilizer and teethers. It's like, your child isn't being born with teeth, y'all. I don't know. I was a very minimal approach person. He owned one toy up until he was 3 months, and we made it to the States, and obviously the grandparents spoiled him, but not because he needed it, but because people were getting it for him. He plays with the wheel of our stroller. Like, he has 800 toys and he wants to play with, the toilet paper roll. So as far as things, I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay. Sounds good. I love that. That's a great piece of advice. Daniel, do you have anything to add?
Yeah. On top of that, the one thing I would add is like your mother's intuition, man, Ryan, keep your ears perked, buddy, because Annette's was like a radar that could sense things coming from like 12,000 miles away. I don't think I've ever met anyone with a gut, sixth sense, intuition, whatever you want to call it, that has been so on point. So yeah, listen to your gut. You know what's best as parents, both of you, for your baby, and the world is going to want to give you an opinion. All the family members, everyone you run into in the store that speaks the same language, they all have an opinion and they all have a different one. And so I've just learned to smile, say, "Oh, thank you. Yeah, we'll do that," and walk away and do whatever the hell I want.
Nice.
I love that. Amazing. Well, it's been really awesome catching up with you guys today. Can you share where people can go to find you, follow along with your journey, watch some videos of life in Thailand and your adorable family and all that good stuff?
Yes. So they can go onto Instagram and look up Chase for Adventure. That is FOR, not the number 4. And on our YouTube channel by the same name, Chase for Adventure, or chaseforadventure.com. And yeah, you guys can follow along on the journey, whatever that looks like for us moving forward.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much for your time today.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you guys for having us.
Thanks for listening to this episode. If you want more, make sure to check out The World Wonders Insider, available on Patreon at patreon.com/theworldwanderers.
For show notes, head over to theworldwanderers.com.
Find us on social media at The World Wanderers Podcast and join the private Facebook community at World Wanderers, a community for travelers.
You can always get in touch with us at info@theworldwanderers.com. And if you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. It really helps us find new listeners.
See you next time.